In the last episode, we did the entire bucket list. This episode, we're going to cover a Hate Live that covers pig history, as well as the last Smark Guys ever. DSP and Rambo started setting up for their Smark Guys wrestling podcast show for one final time in Connecticut.
How's it going?
But unknowingly, it would actually end up being the final time.
What the heck happened?
Phil never recorded anything podcast-wise with Rambo
pre-stream,
after he moved out to the Seattle area.
You like this picture, Drew? That's actually a photo. I don't know if you see it.
I'll give you a signed copy of that if you want.
Here you go.
You guys got the pythons out.
That's right, yeah.
That's right. So welcome to the pre-stream, everyone. We've got today with us, I've mentioned over the past couple of weeks, we may have some special guests coming by in the next couple of weeks, being that it is my final couple of weeks here in Connecticut before I move. And today we have with us special guest Drew.
Hello.
Are you still Liquid Swords or not anymore?
I hate using that.
Liquid
I was like 12 years old when I made that name. It like haunts me forever.
Stuck.
I should have brought it up.
For the first time in the show's history, we get a panel of 3, which does little to enhance the final episode. The show usually consisted of Phil bantering back and forth with Rambo and laughing about weird shit that happened in WWE or wrestling at the time, and just their hot takes about how bad the writing in the product was.
All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Smark Guys, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a very special episode because for the very first time in like 4 years that John and I have been doing the show, we have a special guest with us today. Drew,
Oh,
my long what?
Over here.
A longtime friend. I've known him since before high school, man.
Damn.
You know, growing up in arcades, in the
you guys
local
were, you
area.
guys went to Nam together and all that?
Yes.
Wow.
Survived many world wars. We survived the Mayan apocalypse.
We were laughing at the intro. I think it's from the 4 years ago.
That is the original intro. We never updated the intro of the show.
Yeah.
So Drew is as big of a fan of pro wrestling as John and I are. And,
Not as big as me.
Well, But, yeah, so today we're going to have kind of like the same style of show, but Drew will be, weighing in on everything that's been going on.
Just a little 2 cents. That's all.
And it's been a good week because this week almost nothing going on mainstream TV, but we had NXT Takedown, which we'll actually be going through the results of because I watched it and Drew saw most of it as well on the WWE Network. Various things with this, Impact Wrestling, etc., etc.
You like that, Impact Wrestling?
I love.
You like Velvet Sky, I know that.
I love her. No,
She's from the area, you know that?
Yeah.
She's in Waterbury.
They've got some really good talent in that show. Just some of the stuff is just.
Awful writing.
I'm just gonna say that they're doing the best they can to work with what they got. That's what I'm gonna say.
Well,
Because they, I mean, hey.
Yeah, the
that's
mental
just the thing.
patients that run the company are doing the best they can.
No, the worker. I'm talking about the worker.
Oh, yeah.
no, yeah.
Yeah, we
We never. It's funny. We never fault the wrestlers. We always fault the the bad writing.
Yeah.
You really can't.
And the shit that they
You
do
really
with them.
can't.
Yeah. So I guess this week what we'll do, let's start off talking about the mainstream shows, which honestly there's not a lot to talk about. This was the lead-in this week to the Payback pay-per-view, which is this Sunday, incidentally. Which you might say, why the hell is there a pay-per-view not even a month away from the last one? Well, it's because WWE's trying to cram shit in with a shoehorn and try to get you to buy as much as possible, even though the bottom line is no one's buying the pay-per-views
Do
anymore.
you have the network, Drew?
Yeah, of course I got it.
You got it?
Yeah, I got
Oh,
it.
shit. You like it?
I like it. I use it.
Okay.
I use it frequently. Not as
Alright,
much
good.
as I would want to, but yeah.
During this episode of Hate Live, Phil gives his life story, and it's historic because this is a lot of lore, all packaged up into a 2-hour block full of bullshit. And oh my, let's pick out the highlights for you. So enjoy.
Before my move to Washington State, this is it, the final one. That's right. And it's a good episode because we'll be talking all about E3. Right? We'll be talking about the final details of the move, how that's going to affect things this week. We'll be talking about the big event coming up tomorrow. Not tomorrow, I'm sorry. Saturday. My bad. And, The back of the day segment should be interesting. A brief summary of my life, pretty much. I'm going to try to go through it in about 30 to 40 minutes. Kind of cover all the things that I've done here in Connecticut over the years. All right, hello everyone. Am I recording? Yes, I am. That's why I didn't start recording. Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Darkside Phil. Today is Thursday, June 12th, 2014. This is Hate Live, and ladies and gentlemen, this is a historic occasion, a momentous occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the final Hate Live to be held in Connecticut, ever. This is the final Hate Live where you will ever see this couch. In fact, very shortly, you will never see this couch again. Okay? And I know that's, oh no, for a lot of people. Don't worry, it'll be staying in the family with my aunt. She is going to take it from me. So it will be still getting use. And that's going to be it for good old Brownie. The Brownie, the turd-colored couch. That's pretty funny. Now, so, you might be saying to yourself, all right, well, what's going to happen on this episode of Hate Live? Well, this is not one to miss because this one is all about E3, ladies and gentlemen. E3 just ended, literally like an hour and a half ago. It ended. It is done for 2014. And this year, the emphasis of E3 was one thing: games. There were a lot of other things talked about, but this last year was all about hardware, the new consoles. This year was all about the game. So we're going to do an E3 recap. I'm also going to let you know how this week my schedule was completely changed around because of E3, of all things. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the ending of some projects that have finally come to an end. We're going to talk about the big event that's happening this Saturday, another momentous occasion in my life. The last time I'm going to be hanging out in person with some of my friends who I've, and basically I'm moving away and I'm not going to see them at all or even have opportunity to see them. A lot of these guys I haven't seen regularly in a long ass time. And we're going to have a huge CT throwdown of Street Fighter Marathon, and there may be other fighting games and other games involved, but primarily Street Fighter this coming Saturday. Okay, so we'll talk about that. I'll give you all the details. Okay, then Saturday is the big day. This is a big thing for me, guys. I hope you guys understand. The last time that in my life that I may see some of these people who are coming over on Saturday. So let me tell you the confirmed people who will be here, and then I'll tell you the maybe. So right now, confirmed 100%. John Rambo, OJ, Howard at some point. We're not sure when, but he will be here at some point. Joe, my friend Drew, my friend Kevin, both of which were old school. These are the guys who I grew up with. Drew I've known forever, since like grammar school. I knew him since arcade days. Kevin I met up with in the late 90s, and we started playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 together, and we became friends. There's a possibility my friend Kong, who I used to also play Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and all that kind of stuff with, and I used to be friends with. We used to go to the movies and do all kinds of stuff together, but I haven't seen him in years. He may be coming as well. My friend Mayor McJustin, you guys may remember him from Street Fighter videos, from co-op of Dead Island 1, and other stuff he participated in. Yeah, we've seen him in a long time. He's going to be here for the event. My friend Nestor really, really wants to come, but it looks like, unfortunately, there was a group of guys who all wanted to come from Rhode Island area, who used to be people who I used to play competitive Street Fighter with all the time, but there were like 8 of them, and I told them, listen guys, no offense, because I'm not trying to be a dick, but I can't have 8 of you show up. There's too many, my place is tiny, there's boxes all over the place, 8 of you plus the other 8 to 10 people who are going to be here, we're not going to fit. There's no physical way we can fit all those people in one building. So unfortunately, they kind of backed out, so now Nestor still wants to come, but he doesn't have a car right now, so he might have to take a bus down. By the way, Nestor is Coruchado. He's my friend from the old Street Fighter days. It's funny how we met. We used to be rivals. We used to hate each other and make fun of each other in the Street Fighter community, but then we started respecting each other and realized that we had a very similar sense of humor. We became great friends, and then after that, we've hung out and done stuff, and we played. I mean, there's been co-op playthroughs with him. All the Call of Duty stuff that I've done has Coruchado in it. And so he really wants to come. If the worst case scenario, he says he'll bus it, but he wants to be here. So he's going to try to be here for Saturday. We got a few maybes, like my friend Walter, who used to be around those early days. He was around all the time to play Street Fighter, but then we kind of fell out of touch. He may be coming by, and a few others, but it's looking like roughly, when you tally up everyone on your hands, maybe 8 to 10 people. If a lot of people show up who, maybe just got it by word of mouth, maybe like 15 people. But I mean, 8 to 10 people is a good amount of people to be playing Street Fighter and rotating around and eating and drinking and having food and just having fun. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm glad that I get to see these guys for you know, I don't want to say for the last time, because that just sounds so sad and cryptic, you know what I mean? Like, oh my God, I may never see some of them again, even though it is a true statement. But I would like to think that people like OJ and John and Howard, that somehow won't, you know, we'll see each other again someday. So there you have it. It's just crazy. It's crazy. I didn't plan on getting it. It just fell into my lap. But anyway, I wanted to talk about that. All right. Enough about that. Let's talk about E3. Let's talk Turkey. So E3 this year, as I said, 99% of the time we were talking about games. And that's good. Because I think last year the main problem that people had with E3 was, okay, it's all about the hardware, which is fine. We need to know what was coming out with the new consoles. But everyone was TV, movies, you know, bullshit, all, you know, crap, who cares? TV tuner through your fucking console. Sony's bringing their exclusive Sony Pictures line of stuff to the... No one cares. We're buying game consoles to play games. And a lot of people gave me shit and said, but Phil, it's Electronic Entertainment Expo, so it's okay to talk about those things. Fuck off. No. E3 is about video games. I don't fucking care that it says entertainment in the name. It's bullshit. It's a smokescreen. That's why people want to go to E3. This games. The question really was, okay, were the games that were presented at this E3 ones that were going to make you want to buy this next-gen console, in the case of the PlayStation 4, Xbox One? Were there enough console exclusives to sell those consoles? Or in the case of the Wii U, which is already a 2-year-old system, was there anything there to make you want to buy the 2-year-old system? Because so many few people have bought the system at this point. So, I had a ton of notes, and again, I'm not going to go into super duper specific. The worst of E3, 3 things in particular, stuck out like a sore fucking thumb. Just were awful things, don't belong there, and they're just terrible, terrible things that you don't want to even see this shit, okay? Number 1, at the Ubisoft press conference, Just Dance. It's an easy game to fucking make. It's an easy game for them to make money on. But the bottom line is, Just Dance is a game for non-hardcore gamers. Just Dance is the replacement game for people who played all those stupid gimmicky games on the Wii. Because Just Dance was one of the best sellers on the Wii, right? So, we know Just Dance is going to have a new installment. Do you have to spend 15 minutes of your fucking press conference telling us about the dumbest new features ever? Like dancing with your fucking smartphone, that as soon as you drop it during the first dance, you now have to go pay $400 to get a new one? No, we don't need to know about that because it's fucking stupid. Do you need 400 crazy dancers coming out and dancing on the stage and fucking all kinds of shit? No, you don't need any of that. What a waste of time to market Just Dance at E3. That's not your core audience, idiots. Alright. So that's number 1. Okay. Number 2. Another thing from the Ubisoft press conference. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Shape Up. Again, this is another game. This is a niche audience. People who are looking to game and work out at the same time. Don't get me wrong, I actually liked the concept, because what this does, unlike the other games where you're working out, it doesn't treat itself like a training simulator where it's like a fucking, you know, your personal trainer, hey, do 5 reps or anything like that. It disguises the physical work that you're doing, whether you're running in place, you're doing push-ups, as a game. But again, that's not the time to market that shit, and you're marketing it to the wrong audience. Not one person in that fucking place who was there for E3, nor anyone who watched the stream, is going to be buying Shape Up. That's not the core audience of the people who you need to market it to, okay? And then, number 3, and this by far was the most disheartening thing for me to see at E3, when unfortunately, God, I just can't believe, when Iwata reaches into his shirt and he pulls out a fucking Mario figurine that's a blatant fucking ripoff of Skylanders and Disney Infinity. Disney Infinity being a ripoff of Skylanders, and saying, oh, new collectible figurines that we'll be selling during the holiday, and they'll go, you could scan them into your Wiimote, and, you know, scan it into this little box that you never knew what the fuck this box was for. Well, now you'll be able to scan these figures in, just like Skylanders, and your characters will appear with special abilities in Nintendo first-party titles. Look at it's just pathetic. And it will. Nintendo will make millions and millions and millions of dollars on these stupid little figures that add nothing to the game at all. and it's ridiculous, but it will. It's a tried and true thing that people have found a way to make money based off of physical figurines and video game tie-ins, and it'll work. And I was really disheartened by that. I really was. Okay. Now, what did I like about E3? Well, I did like the fact that all three, big three, Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo, realized this year it's about the games. And okay, so that is it for the first segment. Not much else to talk about. Let's take a quick break. When I come back from break, it'll be Back in the Day, where we're going to cover basically a summary, like I said, a quick abridged version, summary version of my life here in Connecticut. Some of you might hear stuff you've never heard of before, you know, things that you didn't know about me, and we'll go from there, all right? So thanks, everyone. I'll be back in a few minutes. If you're watching this on Twitch TV, just stick around, and I'll be back in a few minutes after the commercial break. If you're watching this on YouTube, take a look at the timestamps in the description of the video. You can click on it and skip right ahead to the next portion. No need to sit around and wait, all right? See you in a few minutes. All right, everyone, welcome back to... I can't even remember the name of the show. Hate Live. That's pretty bad. Welcome back to Joe's Adventures. What? I don't know. So yeah, segment 2, Back in the Day. What I'm going to do is give you guys an abridged, and I mean really abridged version of my life here in Connecticut. The things that I've done for work, for school, for enjoyment, and kind of just run through a history of my life from start to finish, because now I really do feel that this move to Washington is the beginning of the next major chapter in my life. So I was born in April of 1982, and I was born in the middle of a blizzard. I kid you not. It was the first week of April, and there was an effing blizzard to the point where my dad couldn't even get to the hospital in time to see my birth in person. He was there, got there a little bit late because there was so much snow. There was no physical way he could get there to be there in time. Born in a snowstorm, so you knew that that was going to be something special, right? And I grew up in Bridgeport, Connecticut. At that point, I hate to say it, at that point it was a great neighborhood. Lots of friendly people of all kinds of cultures, of all kinds of nationalities and ethnic backgrounds. Although there were a lot of people that were Italian and Polish, but there were also, you know, African Americans, there were Hispanics. There was a lot of variety of the people who lived around my... When I was a small child, I was a huge fan of action figures. If you could get me G.I. Joe, He-Man, Transformers, any of that stuff, I was in love with it. And then I remember the first major fad in my life was when I saw the Ghostbusters movie, which I saw after it was new. I saw it, you know, on television or whatever, and I freaking loved it. I fell in love with it. I would sit there and watch the damn movie on loop, sometimes 2-3 times in a day during, like, the summer. And it was pretty crazy that I would go on this, like, these crazy, you know, trends, and that was one of them. Ghostbusters, and of course, the Ghostbuster cartoon came on TV, Ghostbusters action figures, and I was all over the Ghostbusters. I even remember saying, I hope one day they make a Ghostbusters 2, and then finally they did, and it was like the best thing ever when I started seeing the previews for Ghostbusters 2. You know, as you grow up, you start going to school. My first school was St. Ambrose School in Bridgeport, Connecticut. It doesn't exist anymore. It closed down. And I started there in kindergarten, which when I was 5 years old, and I actually went there all the way through 8th grade. So you're talking 5 years old all the way up to, what is that? 14 or 15? I think it's 15, right? 15 years old, 14 or 15. So that's a good chunk of my life. That was a good, you know, 8 years, if not more, that I went to this school. It's a big run, right? And so, yeah, I went to St. Ambrose School. It's a Catholic school, which was weird. I mean, my parents were trying to raise me Catholic, but I only knew the basics about, you know, Jesus or whoever. It was really when I started going to this school and they started teaching you the religious portions, and you start getting into the dogmas and the doctrines and the Old Testament and the New Testament and the old God and the new God that's nice and forgiving, and the Son of God and the Holy Trinity and the sacraments. Oh God, the sacraments. How I had to do all that stuff, and it was like, first, you know, getting Holy Communion was like the most important thing on the planet. I remember when I did it, and man, here on a Sunday, I just remember. I remember this one particular Sunday. I'm sitting there at church, and everyone's, they're singing, and they're saying their prayers, and blah, blah. Half the people, I swear, you know, are falling asleep. Half the people are falling asleep in church, literally. They just don't give a shit. They're only there to go through the motions. The other half are, like, so into it or whatever, and I'm like, if you really cared about people, wouldn't you be, like, doing something right now? Like, instead of sitting in church, all kind of, like, reciting at the same time like a cult, why don't you go work at a soup kitchen on Sunday and help people? You know? And I just remember that striking me. I was like, why am I here? And I started becoming a rebellious youth. I'll be honest. I started becoming a rebellious youth. And so I'd say probably about midway through high school, I started to, how can I explain? I started to just kind of like almost rebel. Meaning, why am I doing everything that I've been told my whole life? In high school, by the way, I went to another Catholic school. Of course, this is all my parents' idea. Another Catholic school, Notre Dame Catholic school in Fairfield, Connecticut. Completely, them doing shit and telling me what to do with my life. And I just basically remember going to this school, and the first 2 years of going to this school, I busted my ass. I still remember, and it was funny because it all became true, of course, when I finally graduated from high school in the year 2000. I was the valedictorian. A lot of people won't believe me. I was the valedictorian of my high school. Regardless of the fact that I wasn't like a super nerdy type or anything, I had ended up being the highest ranked in my school. And I didn't get accepted to any of the high-toity colleges, which if you're supposed to be the smartest person that you should get into, right? Yale rejected me. Harvard rejected me. There were 3 of them. I can't even remember what the third one was. But every Ivy League school that I applied to said, no. When you want to know why they rejected me, it's this simple. Because I'm a white male. Because I don't belong to any of the families that are what they call legacies. Rich families that have already sent their kids to those schools. Okay. I didn't have any kind of insanely special quality for me to get in, right? I didn't know anyone. I wasn't in the in crowd of people who, we got to get him in. And I wasn't a minority to hit their minority quotas, and I wasn't a sports star to hit their sports quotas. I was just a smart, normal kid. And that's not what Ivy League looks for. Ivy League does not want the smartest kids. They want to keep this conformist group of fucking people, right? These high echelon people, the Bushes, the people who go, just look at the people who go there and realize their family is gone there forever. Because they're trying to keep this 1% in power. And they know that if you go to those schools, regardless if you're smart or dumb as fucking dirt, you could be the president of the United States. Just look at George W. Bush, the dumbest motherfucker I've ever met in my life, is a fucking idiot. And he was the president of the United States simply because he's in that family and he went to an Ivy League school. It's a joke. Okay? So after years of me busting my ass, when I hit college, I said, fuck this shit. I'm so not busting my ass anymore. It's not worth it. And I realized it's all about who you know and if you're privileged or if you're not. And I knew no one and I wasn't privileged. So I went through college, just going through the motions to get through it. Originally I was going to do computer programming. That didn't work out. I went to Fairfield University, by the way, which I quickly found out was not the kind of people that I am. What I mean by that is almost 95% of the people who went to Fairfield University were rich. They all had tons of money. Their parents would pay for their cars, pay for everything, pay their whole fucking way. I was not. I was only there because I had a scholarship. It was the only way I could afford to go there. I still had to take out student loans because it wasn't a full scholarship. They didn't offer full scholarships. And not to say that it was a bad school for business. It was actually quite a good school. But really at that point, after finding out that their computer science department was terrible because the teacher was awful, and me changing majors and going into business, I was like, I will get as good grades as I can. And I don't care about getting straight A's anymore. This is a waste of my time. Primarily what I did while I went to college is I worked on the side. And so now let's start talking about my work life. All throughout high school and then into college, I had a job that I had at a local mall. And I like to joke about it. I used to say I pumped salad. I'm sorry, I pumped salad. What the fuck? I tossed salad and pumped yogurt for a living. So I was out of luck. I had a degree that I could do nothing with. So eventually I ended up working for a company that I thought had to do with finance, and really had nothing to do with it at all. It was Wells Fargo Financial. My next job was working as a business associate or business team specialist at Best Buy. And after a year working at Best Buy, they wanted to get rid of everyone in the business team because we were getting paid too much money, and they eventually framed me. Yes, they framed me, saying that I abused the store discount policy by saving $1.20 on buying 3 PlayStation 2s, which I used in a video game tournament, and they fired me for it, which I appealed, and I won the appeal. I got a massive amount of unemployment money out of them and made them look like a bunch of jackasses. Finally getting a job after the Best Buy debacle at a place called Helicopter Support Incorporated. This job was so different than anything I'd done. Customer service, so you're the face of the company to the customer. Customers would come to me and say, Phil, I have a helicopter and I operate it myself, but this particular part broke. My mechanic told me this part broke. What can you do for me? And I would go out there and look, do any companies have the part available? Do we maybe have the part available? Because we had a huge inventory of helicopter parts in our inventory. If it was a really expensive part, like a helicopter blade, that costs so much money to make that no one wants to buy a new one, we had an actual shop where people worked on helicopter parts and blades and stuff like that, where we would talk to them, gee, do you have a refurb? Do you have something available that we could get this customer right away as a more inexpensive way to get them flying again? And that was my job. I was basically the go-between between customers and our company, finding parts for people and getting those parts out to the operators. What ended up happening was that 3 years into me being at this job, which I got nothing but great ratings, promotions, all kinds of great stuff, the economy turned because no one could afford to operate a helicopter anymore because the economy had turned in the United States. So this company that at one point when I started working there was prosperous, record year, after 3 years of me being there started to tank. Unfortunately, during that period of time, I decided to buy this condo. So finally, after moving back in with my parents for like 3 years, I moved back out again and moved into this condo into the summer of 2009. And as you guys know, it was during that period of time that I started doing YouTube as a hobby. I also hurt my back, or didn't really hurt it, but I found out about the severely herniated disc in my lower back and found out that I couldn't do physical stuff anymore, like play football or anything like that. So I ended up doing a lot more less physical activities like gaming. So, you know, my hobby is booming. Everything at work is going well. People are saying I'm getting all these great evaluations. Everything's saying you're doing great, above and beyond. In fact, at this point, they started grooming me at this job around 2009 to be a lead in continuous improvement. And what took me out of this department where I was doing all this great work, and they put me in a completely different department. And the management there didn't know who I was, didn't know about my skill set, didn't care about ACE at all. They literally didn't care for the fact that I had done all this above and beyond work, had gotten recommendations and achievement awards and everything. The management there didn't give a fuck about me, and after 3 months they laid me off. And it was like, wow, what a fail. What a fail by that company. And by the way, that company is now going out of business. They are in the process of going out of business. They're laid off probably about 50 to 75% of their workforce, and it's looking like they're going to go completely out of business. Or what they'll do, they won't go out of business, but they'll just have the entire workforce outsourced to some third world country where everyone gets paid $1 an hour, you know, and that's where that will exist from now on. It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic what a failure that company turned out to be. I went through direct capture and live streaming, and that was a great thing for me. And now, of course, again, they're going on down again because now you've got the bullshit of everyone on the internet thinks that I'm Satan or something because it's a bunch of little immature kids who hate me and want to make hate montages about me. And even though there may be the 1% of the people who are actually doing that who have a snippet of truth, the fact that that's their whole goal and they don't see the fact that they're hurting me by doing that negative shit, right? That they're not teaching me a lesson that's not improving my product. No, they're actually hurting me as a person by doing that negative shit, but they don't understand that because they're not mature adults, right? They don't have the ability to look in other people's shoes, right? Walk in other people's shoes and see from another perspective, and that's why they do negative, nasty shit like that, thinking that, oh, it's funny and it's good. It's not. And if you live your life like that, you're never going to get anywhere. You're just going to be a negative person your whole fucking life, and you're never going to enjoy anything, okay? But anyway, I digress. That's where I am now.
So now some of you have a better idea of the background of Phil's personal history straight from the pig's mouth. The next primer will be the last one in this chapter, and it will encompass the entire Throwdown playlist, and we'll go through some of those highlights. Until then, stay safe, guys. Drop a like, comment below on your favorite moment of that lovely Hate Live, and I'll see you next time.